Hey guys, in this part 4 video, I'll be talking about maintenance. Everything I do to clean up my tank and keep it fresh and keep it looking good and healthy. So I keep a bucket of all the things that are going to get wet and dirty. This includes a bottle for waters, to refill the water, the siphon snake to take water out of the tank, a net, and a bunch of towels, things like that. I always lay towels on top of the countertop so that things don't get wet. You're always going to end up dropping water. Now in the tank, you're going to find quite a lot of buildup on top, especially if you don't do water changes very frequently. There's going to be a buildup of all this little hair algae, or it's actually biofilm that builds up on top of the water. So I usually use a net just to kind of clean it out. Trimming the plants is always fun. My carpeting plant, I gotta trim it once every week or 2 weeks. Get it nice and low. If you leave it too long, it'll start to yellow in the center. So the underneath part of the plant will start to die because it doesn't get much light in. So you wanna keep it nice and clean and short. I cut leaves off of my other plants if they start growing too long or too big and they look like they're going to take over the tank. I start cutting off some leaves here and there. Leaves that have died, you want to get those out of the water as well, because if they stay in the water, it'll pollute the water eventually. So just trimming, general trimming of plants is always required, and I do this pretty much every time I change the water. I use a toothbrush to clean the black plastic part of the tank, the back part against the filter, and I use a razor, although reluctantly, because it's kind of scary. You might end up scratching the glass if you don't do it right, but I do use a razor to take any sort of algae buildup off the glass. Now this doesn't happen often, but every once in a while you'll see algae start to build up. That's inevitable. You're always going to have algae in the planted tank. So whenever you see it, you just use a razor just to scrape it off. The shrimp go nuts for this stuff. Every time I scrape some off, the shrimp immediately jump on that and want to eat the algae. So you got to be careful not to hurt them. I always take the diffuser and the CO2 setup out so that I could go ahead and clean the glass where that's at normally, right there. And I go ahead and scrape off that part of the glass as well. Most of the buildup seems to be around the CO2 diffuser. Now all that cuttings and trimmings that I have eventually float to the top. I turn off the filter when I'm doing this, so they just float directly to the top. And I just use a net to get it out of the water, as much of it as I can. And here I go ahead and hook up the line and drain it down to the bucket. And I usually do about 40% of the water. I try to get it, I try to like clean the gravel up as much as I can, because a lot of the shrimp poop ends up in the gravel and that's not good. The rest of it that ends up near the plants is fine because the plants use that as nutrient, but the ones that end up in the gravel, you want to get those out. Once it's full, the bucket's full and I'm done removing water, I go ahead and just basically flush it down the toilet. Very simple. I use a Ziploc bag to keep the water from the force of the water dropping, keep it from hitting the bottom and just disturbing the whole substrate. So doing this method is the best, I think. It keeps the water from disturbing anything. I also add quite a bit of nutrient elements into the water. I do flourish, iron, excel, and so forth. And I have maybe in a future video, I'll go ahead and show you guys my scheduling for how often I add this stuff in and how much of it I add into my tank. But I usually have a few things to add after a water change. I also have one of those magnets that you can slide across the glass to go ahead and clean up the glass. This is just for the heck of keeping the glass clean, but it doesn't do a job of a scraper. So that's pretty much it. That's the bulk of the things I need to do for maintenance to keep this tank going and keep it healthy and clean. If you guys are interested in these planted aquarium videos, I'm gonna have quite a bit more of them coming. The next one's probably going to be on shrimp. If you guys are interested in all the shrimp I have and the kind of jobs they do in the aquarium and what their role is in my aquarium, you might want to subscribe and hit the notifications button so that you could be notified when that video comes out. And please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and thanks for watching.